Shalom. I'm Angel from Healthy in Heart. I know a lot of you probably don't have this problem, but our daughter is very petite. She's a very petite little woman. And so all of her clothes I either have to buy in the kiddie section, which I don't like to do because she's an adult, or I have to alter her clothes. So I have an alteration here that I need to do. She has little short arms to match her little short body. So this is what I've done to this long sleeve shirt. As you can see, I have cut a couple inches off. Now, there's several ways you could have done this. You could half do it, but I don't have to do anything, so I'm going to show you what I did. Excuse me. So the first thing you need to do is you need to look and see around there and around the cuff and see if there are any pleats or gathers. Now this one does not have any gathers, but it does have a pleat right here. So you're going to want to it should be pressed. If it's not, you don't have to, but just kind of walk it out a little bit to where you're going to cut it. And I'm going to cut it right here at this. I'm going to cut right above this button. That way the buttonhole is going to be hidden underneath the hem right here, the seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pen and I'm going to pin it right there just to mark it. Now the sleeve tapers as it goes up, so we're going to have to make this pleat bigger. You also want to make sure that you take note of which side of the sleeve your buttonholes are and which side your button is on, because we are used to putting our sleeves on. If we had to do it like this, if we had to do it backwards, it would be very, very awkward to do. So we've become used to, and all the sleeves are put on the same way. You know, the button down fronts are done differently for men and women, but the cuffs are done the exact same way for men and women. And what that is the button is going to be toward the inside of the body, and the buttonhole is going to be toward the outside of the body. So first step, all the hard work here has been done for you. The button's been set, the buttonhole's been set on there. This has all been sewn together. So all we have to do is take this off and move it up. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. Once again, this is not a good quality seam ripper. You may have, depending on how they assembled the shirt, you may have dual seams right here. Usually it's not, but it's a possibility depending on how they assembled the shirt. I have seen it done. Usually it's not right here, but I have seen it done. So all you're going to do is rip this seam across here. And I know I'm using the seam ripper. I know I'm using the seam ripper upside down, but I like being able to use the prong end. You're supposed to use a seam ripper like this so you don't cut the fabric. The ball keeps it from gouging the fabric. But I can't, if this is not sharp enough for one thing, and for another, I really don't like doing it like that. I like being able to use this to pick the thread up. But that's me. You can do it. You can do it however you want to. But there is a proper way to do it. But I don't do it like that. Now, I never needed a seam ripper. Not that I didn't make mistakes and have to undo my work when I worked in a sewing factory. But we had these little tiny scissors called nippers. And that's what we used to rip a seam out. Because for some of the things, all you had to do was pull one thread and it'll. I worked on a serger machine, so most of the time. So I didn't have to backstitch my work, so all I had to do was pull a couple threads and it would completely unravel. So I'm having several layers right here that I'm having to pick loose because this is where they backstitched to lock the stitch in. Here's our pleat. So I just flipped the work over because I work in one direction. This is actually a pretty simple. Sorry if it's underneath the camera. I'm having to look under the camera or through the camera view. That's a little awkward. I honestly don't know if I have a pale blue thread that matches this. Like I said, my mother is a seamstress, and she used to alter clothes for people. In addition to working in a sewing factory, she did that as a side hustle. So most of my seamstress skills were learned from her. Although I did take home economics. I don't think that's what it was called. But I think it was life management skills. Actually, something like that in high school. Okay, so we are loose. And what you're going to do, you're going to have a lot of threads right here. You're going to want to clean those up. Because you don't want a bunch of threads sticking out everywhere that you're going to have to cut off once you sew it back on. Now some of these are going to be actually in the shirt. Like this one. But that too can stick through. And that one's going to need the scissors. Okay, this part is good to go. And I'm not even going to worry about this one because I'm going to cut it off. It's pretty easy to cut a straight line if I can get this fabric to line up. That pleat's kind of messing with me. I did not pin the pleat the last time that I did this. So I'm going to cut it off right here. And I hope I can get this in, but if not, I'm sorry. And if you have like puckers and stuff, you're going to end up with points where it's not going to cut straight across. And I'm just cutting it off right there. Okay, that's fairly straight. It's not going to matter because the cuff is going to cover it. Now we're going to take the button off because we do not want a button right here and we do not want to sew over it. So this button has got to go. If you have a button with 4 holes, you're going to have 4 strands, but you only need to slice through 2 of them. If I can get it up underneath there. It's really hard to see with the camera in the way. There we go. That is a tiny little button, y'all. Okay, now I'm gonna pluck that yarn out there because we don't want it to be bubbled up right there. We don't want to sew through any extra layers. Okay, so this doesn't split very much. That's gonna make it a little hard to sew the cuff, to pin the cuff back on, but we can do it. All right, make sure your buttonhole is on the right side. So I'm going to spin it around because I'm going to start on the other end. And you're going to tuck it in about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And you're going to pin. Now regular, I could not find my normal stick pins, so I'm using quilting pins. Oops. Okay, so that is pinned in place. And yes, I will sew right here with this side up. just follow that along. And you have a thing right here that you can use as a guidance if you want. I'm tucking it up on there a little bit farther than that. Make sure your backside is even. And you're going to make sure your needle, your pin goes through at about the same thing, because that's where you're going to be sewing. So you're going to make sure that your sewing machine catches both layers, or rather all 3 layers. But you definitely, the backside is the one that tends to not get caught if you're not lined up. Okay, so now we have this to contend with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stick this end right in here. I'm sorry if you can't see, I'm like using my body as a table. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this end in right here. And when they sewed it, they didn't do a really good job of tucking that back side in. So I'm going to come around here. Do you see that? Yeah. That's going to annoy me. So I'm going to tuck it in. I'm going to tuck it in right there. Okay. All right, you need to go back in a little bit further. All right. Do you see what's happening here? It's where they did not have that end correct. It's trying to pucker out on me. But that's all right. I know how to manipulate it. And, okay. Do you see? They even had the seam right there. So if I can see that, I know. Sorry, I have a pin in my mouth. Safety would say, "Don't do that." I remember my teacher yelling at me for that. But that's what my mom always did, and I learned from her. So sometimes we pick up those bad habits, but you clench it between your teeth, so there's like no chance you're going to swallow it unless somebody comes by and smacks you in the mouth, but they're going to get hurt worse than you do. All right, you want to make sure that your buttonhole is covered. Well, my buttonhole. There's my pin. Backside is not caught, so we need to catch the backside, and up we go. All right. Hopefully I caught that. I wasn't paying attention to the camera. I was underneath. All right, so here is our thing. So I need to take out the pin because it's in my way now. That was holding my pleat together, which this one is ironed, so it wasn't a big deal. If you need to iron it, you can. You also want to pay attention to how the pleat was folded. And I've lost that, so hang on, let me go back over here. So it was folded like, how was it folded? Okay. So it's folded like that. That's why being pressed is a good thing. So all I'm going to do is slide this out. It's probably going to be about 1/2 inch with as much as I cut off. That plus I remember the last shirt, the other side of the sleeve that I did. So let me just try to pin this right here and see how that works. And so when you get towards the end, you can pretty much straighten it out and see if it's going to fit in there or not. Sorry, I keep coming out from underneath the camera. Yeah, that's going to work. Okay, so let me come over here and I'm going to, this is one to slide out. So I'm going to double pin this right here. Make sure all your stick pins are facing up to the side that you're going to be sewing, because otherwise you might run across a head or something and break your needle. And those are no fun. Okay, so and you can usually slip it up underneath there and pull it tight, and you'll be good to go. Oops. Not good to go. That's okay. This is still good. I'm going to spin it around here and grab the back side. And I'm using my finger underneath to guide it. Now they do make pins that are shorter than this. Like I said, I am using the quilting pins. So I'm going to pin this right here on this side until I get that little booger stuck in there. This is the wrong side. This is not the side I'm going to be sewing on, but I need to, let me spin that around. Be careful you don't stick this, if you do this, be careful you don't stick this underneath and pin it in. Okay, oops. Because then you're going to have to undo it and do it all over again. So getting it lined up is not always easy. Again. And the thing that's giving me a trouble right here is the pleat. There. It is now ready to sew. Well, now it's ready to sew. And if you stretch it out when you're sewing it like this, I'll show you when I sew it. Tug on the back and the front as you're pulling it, as you're letting it feed through there, so it keeps the fabric taut and makes it feed through the machine a little easier. Now I don't need this one on the back side, so that is ready. The next time you'll see this, you'll see me sewing it. Okay, so I'm in here in the kitchen because my sewing and craft room is taken up by my mother-in-law. She's staying in that room, so yeah, all my craft stuff is in the living room. That's what happens when you have too many people living in a small house. Or we just need a bigger house because Todd and I both craft a lot. We have a lot of hobbies, and so yeah, we just need a bigger house. In addition to more growing space, we just need a bigger house also. Okay, so I'm at the kitchen table, and I have, I think, a good shooting angle. If it's not, I'm very sorry. It's really, I don't have a lot of different tripods and whatnot, so I have to make do with what I've got. So I'm going to start out with this shirt with the hold that ball. So I don't have a lot of tripods and cameras and whatnot, so I have to make do with what I've got. So by the way, we're getting ready to redo our kitchen this week, so that's why I've been a little delayed on making over the backyard. So we're going to redo the kitchen this week, and so I might video that, we'll see. But let's get on with the sewing, and hopefully I can get a good angle. Okay. By the way, I found my small stick pins. They were stuck right here. So nevertheless, all right, I always put my stick pins on the right hand side of the machine because it's easier for me to pull them out and stick them right there. I did find a thread that blends in with this shirt very nicely, and so the first thing I need to do is wind a bobbin. guess the first thing I need to do is stick my foot back on there. Ha! Finally. Alright. I had to take the yarn, the thread off of the bobbin because I have more bobbins, but at the moment I have no idea where they're at because my crafting supplies are scattered. So it is what it is. And we're trying to make do the best we can without complaining because God hates complainers. And I don't like complainers either, so. Now this one does not lock the when you wind the bobbin, it doesn't lock it in. So you're gonna see it go up and down as I wind the bobbin. It's okay. Come on, you're supposed to wind on the bobbin, not at the top. Okay, so I shouldn't need a lot of thread here. Anyone who doesn't know how to wind a bobbin, you stick it in. The thread goes right here and slides up underneath this. This is called it's a tension. It puts tension on the bobbin thread, obviously. And now I need to thread the needle, which may not be so easy because the hole is kind of small. A little tip, it always helps if you're new to sewing, it always helps to put your foot down when you're trying to thread the needle. And now we need to wind the thread back up through. So now we have both threads on the top. And that's just for people who are new. I know a lot of you are not new to sewing. Okay, so we're gonna lift our foot back up and we're going to position this right here is the seam. That's where the old seam was. That's what we're going to follow. And so I'm going to position that right in the middle where the foot splits right there. That's where it's going to go. That's where I'm going to feed it. Come on, you can go under there a little bit more. Thank you. And we're going to backspace and go backspace. We're going to go back and retrace over that to lock in our stitches. And as you can see, I can, once I get past this, I can grab it back here because this will hurt your thumb. Right here, there is the screw that holds the needle in. So I need to make sure my thumb is back behind that, or that will hurt when it comes down. Tried and tested, and yes, it does hurt. Now you can usually sew over these. I don't like to because I have, so working in a factory, sewn over. Actually, we didn't use these in the factory. Come to think of it, we didn't pin it, we just stuck it in. But I have sewn over a needle and actually hit the needle, even though it's small, and broke the thread. Broke the needle. I've gone over the stick pin and broken the needle. That's what I mean. Alright, I'm going to have to go over these last two right here. Whether I want to or not. Look at you trying to pull out. Alright, I'm having this right here is trying to pull out. So I put the needle down through the material so it's going to not miss this. It's not going to skip a stitch or anything like that. And I'm shoving that in there. Might help without that in the way. I am like sticking it back in there. All right, there we go. So foot back down and okay, so there you have it. The cuff is done for this side. All right, and now we're going to go to the other side. Oh, come on. Okay, I don't like to sew over the needles, but sometimes it's a necessity. This is such a small work area. And this is why it's easier to just make something from scratch than to take something loose and redo it, because it's always easier to do it right the first time. Come on now. Needle down. Alright, that's throwing me off right there. Okay. I'm going to go through and take all the needles out. Stick pins. I'm taking the stick pins out. And the moment of truth, did it catch the other side? Ah. Nope, we've got some, I missed it, a couple spots. So, it is really hard to get this lined up. Hi. Usually, yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over and we're going to put a seam right down this side, making sure we catch both on this side. Okay, so you cut your loose threads, and now they're both sewn down, and I did not clean this one up before. So this is what happens if you don't clean up the loose thread before you resew it. So I have a few little pieces right here I need to cut off. I'm happy. All right, this is done, Kelsey. Let me make sure I got all the stick pins out. Do you want to try it on? Oh my gosh, my pretty girl in blue. Wow, that's perfect. That's the perfect length for Miss Kelsey. I love it. Do you like it? Yeah? Okay, you can take it off now. Can you go hang that up in your closet? Look at Mommy. It's yours. Can you go hang it up, please? Thank you for joining me today. As I altered the long sleeve shirt for Kelsey and shortened the sleeves. I moved the cuff up, and so that's what we did. And I really appreciate your time and the time that you spent with me. I hope I was able to teach you something, or that you were able to learn something, even if it was from my mistakes. So Yahuah bless you and keep you and give you shalom. Until next time, Yah bless.